Welcome to PVT Express News. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. And now, here's today's content. Backstage at the awards ceremony, the air shimmered with light and noise, camera flashes, hurried footsteps, voices layered over one another in a restless hum. For most, it was just another industry event. For Sukai, it quietly became something else entirely. The elevator doors slid open, then began to close again. In that fleeting moment, the chaos outside was cut off as if someone had pressed pause on the world. Inside stood just two people, Sukai and Songyun. No script. No cameras. No expectations. Just a first impression. He's so cute. The thought came to him simply, almost instinctively. It wasn't the kind of admiration shaped by publicity or polished by distance. It was immediate, unfiltered, like noticing the warmth of sunlight without needing to explain it. There was nothing overwhelming about her presence, nothing that demanded attention in a loud or dazzling way. And yet, something about her lingered. Her smile didn't try to impress. It felt natural, like spring sunlight, gentle, steady, quietly disarming. Her eyes were clear, almost transparent, carrying a kind of sincerity that's difficult to manufacture and even harder to ignore. In that brief elevator ride, Songyun didn't feel like a celebrity. She felt familiar. Like someone you might already know, even if you didn't. That was the first thing Sukai noticed, the ease of it all. For many actors, charm is something that exists on screen, carefully crafted through performance, lighting, and editing. But sometimes, what stays with people the longest isn't what's seen in a finished drama, it's what exists off camera, in the unguarded moments. Before meeting her, Sukai likely knew Songyun the way most people did, through her roles. Through characters she had brought to life with precision and emotion. But meeting her in person revealed something different, something quieter, yet more enduring. She wasn't someone who chased attention or relied on spectacle. There was no deliberate effort to create buzz, no need for exaggerated presence. Instead, she carried herself with a calm sense of rhythm, as if she had chosen her own pace in an industry that rarely slows down. Her voice, her expressions, even the way she listened, everything felt grounded. Real. And that authenticity did something subtle but powerful, it made people relax. It lowered defenses. It created space for genuine connection. That kind of presence doesn't just make someone likable, it makes collaboration easier, more fluid. And in a profession where chemistry can define the success of a project, that quality is invaluable. As filming began, Sukai's understanding of Songyun deepened, not through grand gestures, but through details. At first, it was her cuteness that stood out. But gradually, something else came into focus, her precision. She approached every scene with care, dissecting each moment until it felt right. Lines weren't just memorized, they were examined, reshaped, and lived through. Emotions weren't performed, they were calibrated, adjusted, refined. Even the simplest dialogue wasn't treated lightly. She would revisit it, question it, test different nuances, all in pursuit of something that felt natural and true. This wasn't surface-level dedication. It was something deeper, a quiet insistence on doing the work properly. Sukai didn't hesitate to acknowledge it. Beyond being easy to work with, she was deeply responsible. The kind of actor who doesn't settle. And in an environment where time is tight and pressure is constant, that kind of commitment stands out. Trust between actors isn't built overnight. It grows in small, almost invisible ways, through shared conversations, mutual adjustments, and the unspoken understanding that develops over time. During filming, Soo-kai and Songyun began to find that rhythm. They talked about their characters before scenes, exploring motivations and emotional layers. After filming, they exchanged thoughts, reflecting on what worked and what didn't. When one of them felt off, the other stepped in, sometimes with encouragement, sometimes simply with presence. It wasn't something dramatic or loudly expressed. But it was there. And slowly, they became more than just co-stars. They became collaborators in the truest sense, people who understood each other's process, who supported each other's performance, who built something together. That connection extended beyond the screen. And when audiences watched their scenes, they could feel it. The emotions weren't flat or predictable, they had depth, dimension, a sense of reality that's difficult to fake. When talking about his character Han Ting, Soo-kai offered a description that was both admiring and cautious. "Too perfect," he said. Han Ting is intelligent, composed, strategic. He has resources, capability, and a certain undeniable appeal. On paper, he's the kind of character many would consider ideal. Soo-kai even joked that if he were a girl, he might find someone like Han Ting attractive. But then, he added something unexpected. If he had a younger sister, he wouldn't want her to marry someone like that. Why? Because perfection often comes with complexity. And complexity, while intriguing, can also be difficult to navigate. In love, passion and mystery might be exciting. But in marriage, stability and clarity matter more. A person who is too layered, too intricate, may not always provide that sense of security. It was a thoughtful perspective, one that revealed not just his understanding of the character, but also his awareness of the difference between idealization and reality. If their first collaboration was a spark unexpected, organic, then Soo-kai's vision for a second collaboration feels more deliberate. He's no longer interested in simple emotional narratives. What draws him now is complexity, relationships built on tension, opposition, and psychological depth. Not just love or conflict, but something in between. A dynamic where characters are on opposing sides, where every conversation carries subtext, where every glance holds meaning. A relationship defined not by certainty, but by ambiguity. In this kind of storytelling, emotions aren't straightforward. They're layered with suspicion, curiosity, restraint, and hidden intent. It's less like a romance and more like a game. Soo-kai once compared it to chess. There are no absolute winners or losers in chess, only shifting strategies, evolving positions, and moments of calculated risk. Each move reveals something, but never everything. If two actors can bring that kind of dynamic to life, the result isn't just engaging, it's compelling. He even imagines it in a martial arts setting, two swordsmen walking side by side through the Jianghu. They appear to be allies, but beneath the surface, each harbors their own thoughts, their own motives. Trust isn't given, it's built, tested, broken, and rebuilt again. Through battles, through danger, through shared survival, their relationship transforms, from suspicion to understanding, from distance to connection. That journey, that gradual shift, becomes the emotional core. And it's exactly the kind of story Soo-kai wants to tell next. In an industry driven by constant change, where new faces appear almost overnight and attention shifts rapidly, it's easy to feel like everything is a race. A race for visibility. For relevance. For success. In that environment, anxiety becomes almost unavoidable. But Soo-kai has chosen a different approach. Instead of focusing on competition, he focuses inward on his own growth, his own pace. It sounds simple. But in reality, it's one of the hardest things to do. Because staying grounded while everything around you is moving requires a certain kind of strength. He pays attention to details, whether a scene feels emotionally accurate, whether a character's logic holds, whether a performance feels natural. By breaking everything down into smaller, manageable parts, he avoids being overwhelmed by the bigger picture. And more importantly, he builds something sustainable. Because in the long run, it's not popularity that defines an actor, it's their work, their skill, their consistency, their ability to improve. When those things are in place, competition becomes less intimidating, less urgent. His mindset is clear. Instead of worrying about how fast others are moving, focus on whether you're moving steadily. It's a perspective that extends beyond acting. It applies to anyone navigating a competitive world. Looking back at Sukai and Tansongyun's collaboration, it becomes clear that it wasn't just about completing a project. It was about something that grew naturally, something that couldn't be forced. From unfamiliarity to familiarity. From distance to trust. That progression tells its own story. And perhaps what makes it so compelling is that it doesn't feel finished. There's a sense of possibility still lingering, of paths not yet explored, of dynamics not yet fully realized. Audiences don't just want to see them work together again. They want to see what else they could become. Different roles. Different relationships. Different emotional landscapes. Each new collaboration wouldn't just repeat what came before, it would add to it, expand it, redefine it. And for the actors themselves, that shared experience becomes a quiet milestone. Something that shapes their future choices, influences their performances, and deepens their understanding of their craft. In the end, what draws people in isn't just a single story. It's the promise of what comes next. The unknown. Because sometimes, the most compelling part of any journey isn't where it begins or even where it ends, but everything that still hasn't been written. Please join the discussion. Feel free to leave comments. Welcome to my channel. Thank you all.